Yo, 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 what's good? What's good? It's Stormy B Man, and I am back with another Stormy B Man Reacts for Nerds on Culture. It is being reported by Cosmic Book News that Zack Snyder may be returning to the DCEU universe, but not just to resume that universe's plans that he originally had for the DC characters, but also for a possible team up to unite both the DC universe characters along with Marvel's in a crossover event that will be of epic proportions. That's right, people. You're hearing me correct when I say this. This news, which came through an article that was released Sunday, November 23rd, and it states that Zack Snyder's Endgame teaming with the Russos for possible Marvel versus DC. This is an exclusive article by Matt McGloin. And if this is something that we can look forward to, it is amazing. But I will read you the details of the article. So this is not strictly from Stormy B Man, but a sourced material that was produced by Cosmic Book News. Now, it says, I've been told not only is the Snyderverse in play for a full return, but there have been also discussions about a Marvel versus DC project involving the Russo brothers. They threw around ideas to do a DC Marvel film, said our source, who previously filled us in on the Daredevil Born Again retooling news, the real ending of The Flash, and more. I'll admit, this one's a long shot, but the timing lines up. Here's how. The Russos are officially back at Marvel, directing Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. Rumors say they'll stay with Marvel after Secret Wars to guide the MCU's direction. At the same time, we are told that Zack Snyder is returning for the Snyderverse, backed by the Saudis, who want a Snyder-level event to rival Marvel's big Avengers movies. There's no question both franchises were stronger when they were competing. The MCU was at its best with the Russos, and Snyder's DCEU was far more successful than anything DC released after Justice League, which Snyder had no involvement in. Also, recall how the Russo brothers interviewed Zack Snyder. They loved the guy. I'm still told that James Gunn is out once the WBD sale goes through. The New York Post posts Skydance Paramount is the front runner in part because of Donald Trump's relationship with CNN's new direction, and that alone tells you everything about Gunn's future. I was told directly, if Skydance Paramount buys WBD, Gunn will be forced out if he doesn't resign first. Variety already confirmed Paramount is going MAGA. How does Gunn's divisive DCU fit into that when he's had characters claiming that Yasis loved Jesus and equating our real world with a Yasis world? It doesn't. He's also lost the international audience, and there's no doubt why Warner Brothers Pictures dated the Minecraft sequel only 2 weeks after Gunn's Man of Tomorrow in 2027. Meanwhile, Snyder posted that Superman / Henry Cavill tribute image on Veterans Day Snyder knows exactly what's happening. Snyder has been purposeful. He posted a Superman tribute with the American flag on Veterans Day, which signals he aligns with certain values, and Gunn didn't, which is surprising for the face of DC, our source said. If the Snyderverse returns, Zack will be able to finish his Justice League storyline. I'm told DC will likely undergo another reboot afterward, presumably under Mike DeLuca and Pam Abney, who WB contracts were just renewed. Gunn's contract has not been renewed. Even with talk of a reboot, it sounds like Marvel versus DC still isn't dead. It has been floated before, and even Gunn has mentioned the idea. They threw around ideas to do a DC Marvel film, said our source. Even Gunn wanted it. But our sources don't know if Marvel versus DC is still on the table now that the Russos are steering Marvel's next two Avengers movies and Snyder is gearing up for his Justice League return. I don't know if they'd still be interested after all this. These movies are emotionally draining, one source said. A Snyderverse revival at the same time the Russos reshape Marvel creates a moment fans haven't seen in years. If interest keeps growing and the studios want a guaranteed hit, a Marvel versus DC crossover becomes a real option. It's now up to the people in the room and the fans watching all of it play out. A Marvel versus DC crossover isn't confirmed, but it's still a topic of discussion behind the scenes. I'll have more as I hear it. This is great news for us who see the universes of both film studios have hit rock bottom and they need a resurgence. The Russos being brought back at the bequest of Robert Downey Jr., it seems that they have set their sights on bringing about a certain manner of storytelling as they reshape the universe with Avengers Doomsday and the follow-up, which will be Secret Wars. As far as on DC Warner Brothers side, there has been some really questionable decisions made by those who are running the camp over there. With what James Gunn has brought, he has alienated audiences because he, first and foremost, doesn't stick to source material. What we've seen from Gunn is something that is not appreciated because the DC brand has always dealt with stories on a serious level with not much disrespect toward people and over-sexualization of characters and even profanity and lascivious behavior. This has all been a part of whatever he's done when he's had full control of things. When he was over at Marvel, you still had Kevin Feige there who could hold him in check. But you can see now that he has been allowed to run amok at DC by himself, running the show as a CEO. You can tell that it is just not everyone's cup of tea. And for IP that has been around for over 80 years, beginning with Superman, going through Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Green Arrow, The Flash, if you think about it, the WB TV series of Arrow, Supergirl, Flash, Superman and Lois, all of those shows have proven, Crisis on Infinite Earth, they've proven to be successful television shows. But once Gunn came over there to DC Warner Brothers, he started eliminating those shows. And some of those shows had run for a few seasons, and audiences had grown strong, supporting that brand. With Marvel, we saw that phases 1 through 3 were some of the most exciting cinematic storytelling that you could dream of. But phase 4 began a huge nosedive. And it's no coincidence that legendary Stan Lee had passed away right at the beginning of phase 4 and was no longer around to veto anything that he felt would go against what the created universe of Marvel was all about. And seemingly left in the wrong hands, and having been spread too thin with television shows, movies, and cartoons, all supposedly connected under a cinematic universe, Feige kind of lost a little bit of control there, and people began to have backlash against he. So this news is very interesting as we see the new transition that's going on with what's transpiring at Marvel with the Russos' return, and also being those who are heading up what will be the future of the Marvel brand with as far as the MCU is concerned. And then now with the sale of WBD and DC, if they're bringing back Zack Snyder, they're bringing him back because Christopher Nolan is the one that initially hired him, and they want to get back to what audiences gravitated toward when the films were successful under what he was doing, and without the studio interference that also shackled him during his time there. Because Zack had tremendous ideas, but the executives were roadblocking a lot of what he was trying to do. If I can recall correctly, his idea was to not do it Marvel's way, but to do it a certain way where they would head it, because you needed something to rival Marvel. You don't want to do the same thing, which is like, it's almost like a impression of, or you're repeating or cloning what they were doing. So to be creative through a different avenue, it will allow audiences to say, hey, what's happening over there? That's kind of different. And they'll come in, look to seek a means of being able to enjoy their entertainment, because some people like sweets and some people like full course meals, and some people can just dine on hors d'oeuvres and appetizers. So this is what you have to understand about your audience. And when you stick to the guns of that type of consideration, the money is there to be made. All you have to do is just look at this artwork here that is symbolic of what has transpired in both universes on each side of Marvel and DC. And you can tell that not only are there characters that audiences enjoyed, but there are the type of people who the audiences get a feel for, and then next thing you know, they are enjoying, what they've taken in. So this is something to keep in mind. I really like what's being planned. We look forward to, if this is going to be a reality, that it happens and that we can enjoy it for what it is. Personally, I believe that the type of change that they're speaking of may be necessary, but it also can reignite a passion and interest of the fan base, and that will suit both parties involved, culminating with them coming together in a crossover event. And maybe a crossover event can be something that happens every so often. Like Marvel had its phases, phase 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. maybe with these crossover events, after an Avengers film, you have a few regular films, and then after DC does what they're doing, you have a crossover film. That's a great way to keep things fresh. And the crossovers don't always have to be these heroes fighting each other, but it could be the fact that they have to come together for a different type of a universal threat. And that's something now that we have gone to the cosmos, particularly with the Marvel brand, and we know that there will be opening up the universe with the DC brand, especially if the Snyderverse is reinstalled, because you have Darkseid out there. So this is something very exciting. I look forward to it, and I hope that they're able to deliver exactly what we want.